My house in Budapest, Budapest.
Okay, roll the drums.
Alright, today we're going to be making an Octoberfest. It's going to be my first all grain. It's August 1st, so what better time to make beer? It's a great Saturday and nothing better to do. Alright, so first I'm going to get some equipment together. And the first piece of equipment I just bought, we're going to have to make a chiller. So I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so what we got here are two pieces of 5/8 outer diameter, 1.5 inch inner diameter pieces of hose. We have our screwdriver, and we have a garden hose connection with a 1/2 inch inner diameter barb fitting, two hose clamps, and then we have our coil of copper tubing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bend this copper tubing up to the shape that we want so that it will fit in our boiler. And then we'll put everything together and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so basically we have our copper tubing here, and what we're going to try to do is just bend it up. It's real soft copper tubing, so we're going to bend it up so that it makes a nice, pretty compact coil. What you're trying to do is get enough surface area on the coil to take all the heat out of what you're trying to cool down. And we're going to bend the inner part out just a little bit and the outer part in to make it fairly uniform. Try not to pull it too hard because you can easily kink this soft copper tubing. And we want it to also fit in our pot, our stainless steel pot, with some form of uniformity. And what we're going to do with this last turn is I am going to put this out like so, and I want to bend it kind of upward so that my hose, this will stick out the top like so, and I'm going to try to get the bottom part made up so that it will come through the center and upward. And the way we're going to do that is pulling this tight, and then pushing it down and up. Again, got to be real careful that you're not going to bend the copper tubing so much that it kinks, and then that would be bad. The main thing you want is that the copper tubing comes out enough that you don't have any of the rubber part in your boil. Certainly I would leave some off flavors or something that you don't want. So the inner diameter is now quite a bit less than what it was on the bottom, and that way it fits nice and neat on the bottom. And I want it to be about the same height so that both of these tubes stick out the top. Now, at this point you can bend the tubes down or up, get a little bit more height out of them. That really doesn't make that much of a difference because most of your heat is going to actually rise to the top anyway. Now that we've got this to where we can set this in the pot and let it do the chilling, we can connect our hoses. So we're going to take out our hose clamps. We're going to take one end, connect this kind of a little bit of a ways in so that we can have plenty of stop room for any leaks that might come about. You don't have a whole lot of pressure on this, so it's not really going to make that much of a difference. You might even be able to do this without having the hose clamps. And I'm going to put this out about middle of the ways down. You can feel for the edge of this. And you can do this with clear tubing. You can do this with any form of hose you want to. It doesn't make that much of a difference either. But main thing is you're going to have to hook this up to your faucet. Just like so. We're going to put our other hose clamp on here. Now, the outlet really isn't going to have as much pressure, I think, as the inlet. So, I'm not really too worried about that having a hose clamp. But the very first one, the one that connects to the sink, I'm going to put a hose clamp on there and the brass garden hose fitting. Screw that on. And really, there you have it. It's a quick and easy chiller. This will go out one end. This will connect to your gardens, to your sink, and this will fit nicely into your pot and do the chilling. So that's how easy it is there, as long as I'm not dropping everything, to make your own chiller. The copper tubing, I bought a 20-foot piece, and you really don't need to have 20 foot, but you can use a 10-foot, and what's going to happen is it's going to cost you about, I don't know, 30 bucks. Not a whole lot. So let's move on to the other thing. Now our Mash-Tun's already done, but I'm going to show you a little bit of how we made it. Okay, so here's our Mash-Tun. It's our standard igloo. It's a 5-gallon. Let's just take the lid off here, and I'll show you what I did. Is basically I screwed in a 3/8 inch thread fitting with a barbed hose and one on the other side, and took the stainless steel braid off of a standard connection for, say, bathroom connection or whatnot. But you can see there I took the braid off, put some stainless steel hose clamps on with a plug on one end, and this screws directly into the fitting that came with the igloo cooler. Now I have the spigot as it is, which I'm going to use today, just the standard button, but I'm going to rig up a little valve there at some point. Now, for the outlet though, I am going to put a barbed hose with a clear tail on it, so that I can let this drop right into the right into our boiler pot. So what I'm going to do is stick this up in there, just like that, and then it's going to easily drop into the pot. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things about what we have here. We have it's an American Pale Ale yeast. I'm not going to lager this because I don't exactly have the facilities to do the lagering just yet, so we're going to let this ferment at about 70 degrees. I got some Silas pellet hops, some Tettnang pellet hops, and those are the hops we're going to use. We're going to use a pellet style. We may use the cheesecloth bags. I don't know if we're going to use that just yet. Then of course we got Irish moss. Irish moss is basically a clearing agent. We have our grains here. They've already been milled, and the milling process basically breaks up the inner kernels to allow more surface area to be converted to sugars. And then we have our hydrometer. We got a racking bucket. We got our boiling pot, our Mash-Tun, a 6-gallon carboy, and a chiller. And I also forgot it's a funnel here, and it's got a strainer here in the middle to keep out as much as I can before it goes into the carboy. So we'll have as clear beer as we can by not letting enough stuff get in there. First things first, I got my chiller in here because when we start boiling the water, I'm going to boil the chiller at the same time. It's going to sanitize it. One of the most important things while you're brewing beer is, of course, sanitation. You don't want any of those little nasties getting up in there. First thing we're going to do here is I'm going to boil up a little bit of water, and this water is going to be for our pitching of the yeast. I like having all my stuff out here. I get my racking jug here, and I sanitize everything in there, and I use this no rinse sanitizing agent, and I sanitize virtually everything I'm going to use, and then I like to set it out and get it ready. But first we're going to do is we're going to get the yeast pitched into the into our boiled water. We're going to let it cool down. Pitch the yeast into it, and we're going to put it back in the fridge until we're ready to pitch it into our carboy for fermentation. Now, initially, we're going to let it sit out for probably 30 minutes. Let it get to about room temperature, maybe an hour. Let it get to room temperature, and that way it'll be ready for pitching. Okay, so we got our boiled water. Put it in a small container. It's been thoroughly sanitized. Put it in the fridge. Let it cool down. So we've opened up our yeast. It's an American Pale Ale yeast. I'm going to drop this in. Stir it up real good. Then we're going to put it back in the refrigerator. I think you get a much more uniform coverage of the yeast if you pitch it if you don't pitch it dry into your carboy. We're going to give this another good stir before we throw it in. Okay. We're going to put the lid back on and throw it back in the fridge.